How on earth do you read a weather map? Review time. A few key concepts you need to remember from the previous videos are the definition of air pressure and how high air pressure and low air pressure interact with one another. Remember that air always travels from an area of high pressure to low pressure. Think about the convection currents video. This movement causes wind, and depending on how great the difference is between the two pressures, that tells you how quickly they will move or how hard the wind will blow. Check out this awesome map from NASA showing the different global wind patterns at different times of the year. Notice that the patterns are different at different latitudes. Wind in North America tends to follow the same pattern, flowing from west and going to the east. Or as I like to say, our wind goes whee across the states. Also, check out all that dust from Africa. I know it might cause trouble here in the States, but the Amazon wouldn't survive without it. Okay, let's get back on track. So, the questions you should be able to answer by the end of this video. 1. What does a high pressure system look like on a map, and what kind of weather does it create? 2. What does a low pressure system look like on a map, and what kind of weather does it create? 3. What does a warm front look like on a map, and what kind of weather does it create? And 4. What does a cool front look like on a map, and what kind of weather does it create? Notice the pattern? Weather patterns. The key to really understanding how all of this works is to remember that these highs, lows, warm, and cold fronts are all compared to the air around them. It doesn't actually have to be warm or cold, it just has to be warmer or cooler than the air that is currently there. I'll remind you of this throughout. Let's begin with highs and lows because you should be familiar with them. A low pressure area on a map means that compared to the air around it, it has a lower pressure. This air is rising and tends to be warmer. As the warm air rises into the atmosphere, it cools and condenses. Remember the water cycle? And this is why low pressure systems are associated with rain and yucky weather. Low equals lousy. The opposite is true for high pressure systems. The high pressure is pushing down to the ground because it is more dense. And since the air is flowing down to the ground, there's no room for clouds to form. High pressure systems are associated with clear, sunny weather. High equals dry. Here's what they look like on a map. Blue capital H's represent high pressure areas that will have a clear, sunny day. And red capital L's represent low pressure areas that tend to have clouds and rain. Now let's move on to fronts. Cold fronts look like this on a weather map and bring in cooler air. They are blue and the spikes point in the direction the front is moving. These cold fronts and the cooler air mass they are attached to are more dense than the air that is there and can cause major thunderstorms as they pass through, pushing all that warmer air up into the atmosphere to cool and condense quickly. So as a cold front moves in, it moves fast and tends to create crazy thunderstorms. But once it passes, it leaves behind cooler temperatures and clear skies. Warm fronts look like this on a weather map and bring in warmer air. They are red and have half domes that also point in the direction the front is moving. These warm fronts and the warmer air masses they are attached to are less dense and move much slower than a cold front. As a warm front moves in, it pushes gentle rain or light snow into the area, but once it passes, it leaves behind warmer, more humid conditions and clearing skies. So how do meteorologists use these symbols to predict the weather? Let's go through a few maps and see if you can see the patterns. Pause the video on the map and see if you can answer these questions. Okay, let's check your work. The letter experiencing light to moderate rain right now would be D because the warm front is about to pass over it. The two lettered positions on the map that are experiencing clear skies would be A and E because they are near the high pressure systems represented by the blue H's. The letter that is experiencing heavy rains right now would be C because it is currently getting hit with a cold front. And the letter position that recently experienced a cold front passing through would be B because it is directly behind the cold front on the map. Hopefully you did well. Let's try one more. Pause and try it on your own. Okay, let's check. The city about to be hit by a second storm would be Indianapolis because the warm front just passed and a cold front is on its way. The city that is experiencing clear skies is the one near the high pressure, so that would be Toledo. The city that will have light to moderate rains in the future would be Dayton, because the warm front is headed that way. And the city with the heavy rains in the not too distant past would be Champaign, because that cold front just passed through. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and we will definitely have more practice tomorrow.